This is episode 298 of the Super League Pod. This week we bring you fans' eye views on the whole sport of rugby league, from the community game getting going again to some NRL points frenzies and everything in between. We've got one fan talking about expecting an analing 1 minute and then his kids under 10s match the next. Who did Sarah think got a new tattoo? Who's still laughing at Leeds? And who scored a try without apparently getting a carry or any metres? We answer these questions and much, much more, so strap in, it's SLP time. Hello listeners, welcome along to episode 298 of the Super League Pod, and this week you have for you myself, Mark, and I'm joined by Sarah. Alright, Scoots?
Yep, I'm alright, thanks. How are you?
Good, yeah. I think we've probably got a less exciting week to talk about than what me and Tim had last week. No records broken. Nothing like that to go through this week, but I'm sure there's still plenty of content to dig into, and good amount of fan reviews too on the match action over the weekend. So shall we jump in first by Sarah letting everyone know about our sponsor?
Yes. So our episode is again sponsored by Rob's Toy Shop, and you can find a wide range of toys, gifts, rugby league birthday cards and more at Rob's Toy Shop on eBay. You can visit stores.ebay.co.uk/Rob's Toy Shop, and on any orders over £5 you can earn 5% cash back, and 1% of your order value will go into the SLP coffers if you put SLP discount at checkout.
Good stuff. Normally I write down what I'm going to say next about what we've got coming up, and I've forgotten to this week, so I'm just scanning the rundown to see what we've got. Yeah. So we've got a little bit of feedback on a couple of topics we talked about last week. The news this week, one of the main things we'll be talking about actually is the France train-on squad building up to the World Cup that Laurent Fraser-New has announced, amongst some other news stories. And then round 4 of Super League, of course, we'll be talking about wins for both of our sides, Sarah, and everything else that happened outside of our sides. And other results, we've got the Championship, we've got Challenge Cup from the women's competition. I can't remember if it was classified as round 1 or a preliminary round, but either way, there's 2 ties there to talk about. Bit of NRL with some Britwatch stats to go through. Even a match review in from the community game, which is very exciting. So probably when we get to talking about that in the other games, that's where we might pick up, Sarah, with you as well about what's going on with the Might and Warriors juniors. And then we'll be making our picks for the next week in Rugby League. And I understand you've got a very exciting quiz concept that was devised by one of your children to hit me with later on.
I'm very excited by the quiz. I nearly messaged you to tell you what it was, and I was like, no, that kind of defeats the purpose of it, doesn't it?
Excellent stuff. So we've got a couple of bits of feedback on last week's topics of conversation. Do you want to start with the first one that we've had from Dave Hunter?
Yeah, so Dave Hunter got in touch regarding Glenn Morrison becoming director of rugby at Cleveland. And he said, excellent for Cleveland to have Glenn join them. Hope it helps elevate their game and attract more players, or at least develop all that raw talent. I hope my NRL team reaches out to help develop some talent to reap possible future rewards.
Yeah, good stuff. And Mike Webster at MikeWeb58 got in touch about tag rugby, because we talked about Tim was having his tag rugby debut. So Mike said, Tim mentioned tag rugby last week. Coincidentally, I've been to a couple of taster sessions in Orrell. As someone who is too much of a coward to go onto the rugby pitch, it was excellent. Just like the real game, but no chance of getting thumped. He said all abilities, including older men like himself. Also, he assumes that it boosts Rugby League's participation figures for Sport England funding, etc. I believe it does. I believe all of the forms of Rugby League do contribute towards that. So he gave the website that he for where he went. trytagrugby.com/Wigan. But obviously, if you go to trytagrugby.com, there'll be an event or a group nearer to yourselves as well. And if you want something that's slightly more physical than tag, but definitely less physical than the full thing, then there's cross league, isn't there? And there's touch as well, which is like tag, but I think slightly different. I honestly don't know the difference between touch and tag, if I'm honest. Are they the same thing, Sarah? Do you know?
No.
I've watched some exhibitions of tag rugby because they've had it at some of the big events over the last few years, Magic Weekends, Summer Bashes, that sort of stuff. And our friend Phil Brown, obviously, formerly of Mascot Browns, now of Chasing Ruse, was involved in tag rugby over here, and now is doing great things with the brand back in Oz as well. But yeah, if like Mike and like me, to be honest, because I'm scared of getting hurt, there was a touch rugby group near me, but they played on Monday nights. Didn't work out for me, that. No. Didn't work out. But there you go. So try tagrugby.com to find out more about that. I think we'll do the news, shall we, Sarah?
I think it's a great idea. So in this week's news, we'll start with the England's men's side warming up for their 2021 Rugby League World Cup campaign with a friendly against Fiji in Rochdale on Friday the 15th of October. That's my dad's birthday. Sean Wayne's side will play the Batty, semi-finalists at the past 3 World Cups 8 days before England's RLWC opener against Samoa in Newcastle. Rochdale has a long-standing link with the island nation, with the second largest UK Fijian population outside of capital city London, while the town's Hornets Club have had a number of players from the Batty wear their colours since the 1960s. This fixture will form part of the club's 150th anniversary celebrations and again bring International Rugby League to their Crown Oil Arena home after they hosted a game in the 2013 tournament. It's good to see Rochdale get that fixture.
Yeah, definitely. They've managed to tie it in with something to do with the club. It links in well with a sort of subsection of the town's population, and it does let people remember that great occasion, Ireland versus Fiji, back at the last World Cup, which was it might have been the first game I went to, actually, of the last World Cup, but that was over here in 2013. It was a rainy night in Rochdale, but a really great occasion. And a really good performance from both the sides, actually, in what was torrential downpours at times, and a full house. So if they can get something like that for this, I know it's not quite as prestigious a game as it's a warm-up game rather than an actual World Cup game, but I think it's really good. What do you think about this as a warm-up fixture? It'll be Wayne won't be able to pick probably all of the players he'd want to pick with the grand final being so close to that game, but what do you think of this as a warm-up fixture? Do you think it's a good choice for England to pick up?
I think it's going to be a competitive match, isn't it? It's not like they're playing a team that isn't expected to do very well. You know, it's sort of a serious standard for a warm-up. And I guess, like you say, you know, the combination of it being so close to the grand final and actually only 8 days before the opener, you question who he will be able to pick from slightly.
Yeah, there'll be a chance to get some combinations, maybe getting a run out, but maybe not all the combinations that he'd want. But at the same time, a proper preparation.
Yeah. And actually, you know, maybe, I mean, obviously we don't know who's going to be in the grand final or who from those grand final teams, but I guess maybe it'll give him a chance to look at, actually, if my first choice halfback pairing isn't available, how do these guys get on? And actually being in a decent level of game.
Yeah, and a chance to try some other people out that are going to be in the squad that might be sort of, if our if I'm in a bind in a game, can I put this person in this position? So opportunities to do that sort of stuff. Like you say, it's a good opposition. Okay. Assistant coach Lee Briers is set to leave Warrington Wolves at the end of the season after 25 years with the club. The 42-year-old joined the Wire as a player in 1997 and is the club's all-time leading point scorer with 2,586 points in 425 appearances. Those stats will be fact-checked by our Warrington stats correspondent, I'm sure. He retired at the end of the 2013 season and has worked with the youth and reserve teams before stepping up to assistant in 2018. Briers' fellow assistant coach Andrew Henderson and head analyst Jack Phillips will also leave the club at the end of the year. So, big end of an era stuff this for Warrington.
It really is, isn't it? Definite sort of sweeping out, clean sweep, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, he was such a talented player, wasn't he?
Yeah, and you got to feel like he has attributes as a coach to pass on. Warrington have maybe been slightly guilty sometimes of not giving all of their young players a chance. But we've started to see some young players come through. Josh Thewlis played at the weekend, didn't he? For example, and he'll have been in Lee Briers' system coming up. Rumour is maybe linking Briers with a move to Lee to do a kind of potentially a head of youth role there. Who knows?
Yeah.
So he's got good value, hasn't he, to offer with all that experience that he had.
So I don't know if you know, but his wife is from Hull. So every year there would be the rumours that he was signing for us because he's been seen in the town.
Right.
And he never did sign for us. And I'm sure a large number of those 2,586 points were drop goals against us.
Yeah.
One match he dropped 5 goals against us.
Well, yeah, which I believe is a record, certainly a modern era record. When the drop goals went down to 1, you kind of think, why would you need to kick 5 of them in a match? But he did.
Because they kept getting up our end, and I don't think he trusted the rest of his team.
Kept the scoreboard ticking over.
Yeah.
But very talented player, like you said, and so wherever he ends up, I think they'll be getting a good rugby league brain into the operation.
Yeah, I think so. And, you've got to say, presumably it won't be that many years before he becomes a coach in his own right, you'd think.
And possibly, and we've talked about this about other assistants before, possibly sometimes they have to step away from where they're so well established to kind of understand the challenges at a different place, a different club, in a different scenario, different set of circumstances, and to develop, to make that last little bit that they need to then become a head coach.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, he's been there 25 years. He was a 17-year-old when he joined, wasn't he?
That's it. He did one babyface interview on Sky for a man of the match performance for Saints, and then it's been Warrington all the way, hasn't it? So it probably will do him some good to get out of that environment and see a different environment.
Yeah, just broaden his spectrum and leave the way open for Darryl Powell bringing his merry men in.
Exactly, yeah. Maybe we'll see at Warrington what Ryan Sheridan looks like without a hat, but I doubt it.
It'd just be a different coloured hat, won't it?
Different coloured hats, yeah.
So moving on, Leeds Rhinos winger Ash Handley has extended his contract until the end of the 2024 season. The 25-year-old has scored 78 tries in 124 appearances for the Rhinos since making his debut in 2014. That's the in there for his testimonial, weren't it?
Yeah, it's amazing to think that.
Yeah, I couldn't quite believe it when I was reading it.
I suppose he made his debut and then wasn't really established for a good few years, was he? Until, until Ryan Hall left, when he nailed down that starting jersey on the wing. And that 78 tries and 124 appearances, I would guess that strike rate is far better when you just look back over the last 2 years. Where he has had that starting position, because he's been very good the last 2 seasons. 2 Dream Team appearances in a row.
Yeah.
I think it's a good signing for them.
you might as well keep the consistency, mightn't you?
Yeah, is a good chance of an England squad spot. I think if he gets anywhere near